All right, welcome to day one of notes on equations of circles. This is day one. We're only doing 2 days of notes for this. This is day one. This should be for silver on Friday. I'm out of town on Friday. So here we go. Should be about a 14-minute, maybe 15-minute video, but we'll get right after it. Remember, if you need me to slow down at all for you, you can always pause, work through it, and then unpause it and play it again, okay? Or rewind it and do anything like that, all right? I'm just going to try to keep this at a decent length video-wise. All right, so we're about 40 seconds in, so I got about 13, maybe 14 minutes, hopefully, to get done for you. All right, so it says the general form of the equation of a circle. Well, the general form of equation of a circle is going to be x minus h squared plus, inside parentheses, y minus k squared equals my radius r squared. That is my general form. That is my equation of a circle in the general form. That means that my center is going to be the point h and k. H and k. My radius, well, is r. But I need you to think about it coming out of the equation. My radius is going to be the square root of radius squared, okay? So our radius is the square root of r squared. All right, so let's look at a couple of these examples real quick. Example 1 says, write an equation of a circle with the given radius and center. Well, when I look at this, I'm given radius equals 5 with a point 12 and 80. That is my center. My radius is 5, my center is 1280. So I look at this, I'm going to plug it into the formula. So here we go. Into it. X minus 12 replaces h squared plus y minus, it is a positive 80, so I just plug it in, squared equals, my radius is 5, so that is 5 squared. So 5 squared is 25. So I know it's going in here as 25. All right. The next example. I look at it and I have radius equals 9 with the center at 612. So I look at this going into the function. That is going to be x minus 6 squared plus y minus 12 squared equals 9 squared is, or 9 times 9, or 9 squared is 81. The third example, r equals 12, the center at -1, 15. Into the function x minus, well, this one happens to be a -1. So minus a 1 squared. Well, I know that two negatives make a positive, so I'm going to go ahead and place that now. But understand that that really is just saying x plus 1 squared. Okay, x plus 1 squared plus y minus the y term, which is k for us, is the center. This y term right here, which is 15 squared, equals 12 times 12, or 12 squared, is 144. Okay, as I move on, r equals 4 with the center at 8, -7. When I look at this, plugging it in, x minus the 8 squared plus y. It is a -7. So this is a y minus a -7, y minus a -7. So this ends up becoming y plus 7. Remember, it's just the opposite of the sign. You should be able to pick up that by now, right? So if the 8's in here, it's a minus. If it's a negative, it's a plus. It's just going opposite signs. Okay, equals, r equals 4. 4 squared is 16. All right, that's the first layer. Let me erase that and we'll get to the second. Let's scroll up and get there. All right. Okay, here we go. Next one says identify the center and radius of the following. So it says identify the radius and center of the following. All right, so they're giving us, this time, they're giving us the equation of a circle. So I need to pull the information out. So I look at this, I want my center, and I want the radius. So I look at this, by center, it is a -6, so it's going to be a positive opposite sign. Y minus 24, so it's a positive 24. In my radius, it is a 25. So my radius is a square root of 25, which is just 5. 25 is the perfect square of 5. Next one. I have x minus 9 squared plus y minus 42 squared equals 49. So I look at this. I want to identify my center and identify my radius. So here we go. Now look at it. I've got 9 and 42. This is a -9, so it needs to be a positive. My 42 is negative as well, so it needs to be a positive. Just pulling them right out of the equation. Switching the sign, and then my radius is going to be the square root of 49. Well, 49 happens to be a perfect square of the number, that's right, 7. Now I want you to go ahead and do B and D by yourselves. Go ahead and pause me for a second. Do B and D and see if you can get it. I'm going to start putting them up, so you should pause me right now. When you pull back up, I'll be ready to go. All right, welcome back. Hopefully you got both of these done. What should you have gotten? Well, you should have gotten center as at -8, 17. Remember the opposite of the sign. So -8, positive 17 for the center, and then the radius is going to be 1. On D, the center should be at a positive 10, -9. Remember the opposite sign. And then radius is the square root of 64, and therefore the radius is 8. Good. Great, so let's move on to the next level. All right, this one says graphing an equation of a circle. All right, so they want us to graph it this time. Not too bad. So when we look at this, I look at the equation of the line, or the equation of the circle, not the line, the equation of the circle. And I notice right away that my center, and I'm just going to label that C, my center is going to be at a -3, positive 2, and my radius is going to be the square root of 4, which is 2. Well, with that information, I can graph a circle. Find the center, -3, 2. 1, 2, 3, over or up 2. There's my center. Now, my radius is 2, and that means I'm going out just 2 from there. What I like to do is find my center and go horizontal to the right, 2, and mark it. Go up, vertical, 2, mark it. Go to the left, 2, mark it. Go down, 2, mark it. Went too far on that one. And once I have those marks, I kind of see how I made them verticals and then horizontals. What it allows me to do is without a compass, I can draw that circle. It's going to have radiuses already on here. That's the points I made. And it would look just like that. All right, let's do one more. Next one, it says x minus 3 squared plus 1y plus 1 squared equals 16. So when I look at this, I know my center is going to be at the point +3, -1, and my radius is going to be at the square root of 16, which is a +4. Okay, so when I look at this, I want to put my center on the line, so I'm starting at the origin, going over 3 to the right +1, 2, 3, and down -1. So I'm about right there. My radius is 4. So my radius is 4. I'm going to start to the right of it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go above it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Over 3. Over 1 more. And down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Draw my circle. I'm a little oblonged. You got a little bit better. Draw my radiuses there. In my little oblong circle that I didn't draw very straight, I could use a compass to do it better, is that right there. And notice that my radius is going to be distance of 4, a difference of 4, a distance of 4, and a distance of 4. Especially if I draw it straight, okay? All right, moving on. The next part says, given the center and another point on the circle, write the equation, okay? So this time, we're given the center and another point. We're not necessarily given the radius, okay? That's probably what we're going to have to find. It says to find r squared, either plug in the points or use the distance formula, which is d equals the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus, inside parentheses, y2 minus y1 squared, okay? So let's look at the first one. The first one, we want to find r squared by plugging in the point. So when we do this, we want to plug in the points, okay? What that means is that I'm going to plug in the 2 points into the equation, okay? Well, I know I'm finding r squared, so I'm going to go ahead and label it r squared. That's what I'm looking for. So plug in the points. Well, I've got a 4. And I've got a -7. That's my x and y. X and y. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and plug in -7 and 3. -7, right? Sorry, hang on, let me back up. 4 and the 5. Sorry about those. I'm plugging in the 4 and the -7 in the x and y places. Now I'm plugging in the 5 and 3. And I cannot keep messing up. 5 and 3. Hopefully I can get this straight here in a second. Okay, so all I've done is taken the center, which is C, 4, -7, and the point 5, 3, and I plugged them into the equation. Okay? What that allows me to do is to go ahead and say, what's 4 minus 5? Well, 4 minus 5 is -1 squared plus -7 minus 3. Well, that's a -10 squared. Well, when I do that, I'm still looking for r squared. -1 squared is 1 plus -10 squared is 100. That's still equal to r squared. Add those two together. 101 equals r squared. So I know that my r squared term is 101. So when I do that, I can now plug into my equation. Well, I know my center, and I know my equation, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. That is my equation. So we can plug in. My center's at 4, -7. So in here, x minus 4 squared plus y minus a -7. So this becomes y plus 7 squared equals r squared, which is 101. So it equals 101. Okay, so my equation becomes x minus 4 squared plus y plus 7 squared equals 101. All right, so let's do that. Let's do an example. Okay, so scrolling up, doing that example. So this one says, find the equation of the circle given a circle with center 3, -4 and passing through the point 6, 2. So I'm going to use my equation. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And I'm going to plug in my points. So center, that is a -3 squared plus a +4 squared. Passing through the point 6 and 2. 6, 2. I plugged them in. So in essence, all I've done is plug both sets of points into the equation. Now from here, 6 minus 3 gives me 3 squared plus 2 plus 4, 6 squared equals r squared. What's 3 squared? 9 plus 6, 36 equals r squared. 36 plus 9 is 45. So r squared is 45. So now find the equation. Well, good, easy. Here we go, the equation. I know my center is at 3, -4. So x minus 3 squared plus y, and it's a -4, so it becomes +4, so y plus 4 squared equals r squared, 45. All right, so that's your one example for that. That is when you have a point and your center, right? Point and a center. Well, remember, that's really, the distance of that is your radius, correct? So that's when it's going to lead us into the next one, all right? The other way, the second way to do this, the second way, that was the first way to find it, right? Plug both sets of points in, find r squared, right? The other way is to find r squared using the distance formula. So here we go. Circle with center 0, 0, and passing through. Oh my gosh, spelling mistake. Through. T-H-R-O-O-U. Holy cow, Kevin. Now, what have they given me is a center and a point. Well, I know that I can find distance, can't spell today, distance of radius using what? Well, the distance formula, right? It's distance between 2 points, okay? So I can find my radius from my center, that distance, by using the distance formula, okay? So here we go. Find r squared using the distance formula. So I have 2 points. So I want r squared. Well, really, I'm finding r first, right? I'm not finding r squared first. I'm finding r first. So I know that the distance, my radius, so r equals the distance between 0, 0, and negative 5, 2. So 0 minus a negative 5 squared plus 0 minus 2 squared. That negative and negative become a positive. So I know my radius has a distance of 0 plus 5. That's 5 squared plus 0 minus 2. Well, that happens to be negative 2 squared. So my radius equals the square root of 5 squared, 25, plus negative 2 squared, 4. So my radius is equal to the square root of 29. So I know my radius is a square root of 29. So when I look at this, I now can plug this in. This is my radius. So I can plug everything I have right now into the equation. I can do that by taking my center. Well, then my center is 0, 0. So let's plug everything in. X minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals. My radius is the square root of 29. Well, what's this squared? Well, if I could take the square root of 29 and I can square it, and you put that into the calculator just like that, and you're going to get the value, you guessed it, 29. Now let's clean this up a little bit. Notice that this is x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared. We're never going to write that. How you always see that with a center at 0, 0 or a center at any 0, right? 0 on the x, 0 on the y, does not matter. You're going to see that instead of x minus 0, you're just going to see that as x squared. Y minus 0, you're just going to see as y squared. And that's going to be equal to 29. All right. Last one, and I know I've gone over. I'm heavy on the time. I understand that. So you're probably going, Mr. Mosier, you said 14 minutes and you're at 23. You're right. I'm a little long. But hopefully you're understanding. All right, the last one says, given a circle with a center 5, 1 and a point on the circle 8, negative 2. Well, we want to use the distance formula for this one. So I'm going to do it inside the box because I can't scroll down any further and I don't want to write down here. So this is my center, this is my point on the circle. So I'm going to find that radius. That is, from here to here, is a radius of my circle. So find that. Here we go. My radius of this circle is going to be equal to, well, 5 and 8. So the square root of 8 minus 5 squared plus, since I started with 8, I got to start with the negative 2. So negative 2 minus 1 squared. So here we go. Radius equals the square root of 8 minus 3. That's 3 squared plus negative 2 minus 1 is a negative 3 squared. So my radius is the square root of 3 squared is 9 plus negative 3 squared, 9. Well, I know 9 plus 9 equals 18. So I know my radius is the square root of 18. So now I have my center, which is that point at 5, 1. I have my radius. So I can plug in and go into my formula. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals my radius squared. So here we go. X minus, my center is at 5, positive. So x minus 5 squared. Y minus, the center is at 1. So minus 1 squared equals, my radius was the square root of 18. So take the square root of 18 and square it, and that's going to give you the value of 18. That is the notes for day 1. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. Rewind if you need to. Ask questions. I'll be back on Tuesday for you. Other than that, have a great day.